Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar from IFL, in which we're going to be discussing the skills you're going to need to navigate the future of finance. Now, technology is changing so quickly that it's affecting everything in the finance sector. A recent study found that by 2030, because of increased automation, many entry-level jobs being done now will be absorbed by AI. So where does that leave the workforce at the moment? The future of finance is at an exciting, uncharted, some might say potentially scary crossroads. But today we've got a fantastic panel of industry experts here to help you, and they're going to help you prepare. They're full of tips and guidance to help you face whatever the future holds. So we do want to hear from you today, please. So don't wait until the end of the webinar to send in your questions. Just pop them in the chat as we go. What are your thoughts about the future of finance? Well, my name is Jay Vidalingham, and as I said, we are really lucky to be joined by a panel of industry experts today. We've got Andy Lonnan, the CEO of FBP Academy. Hi, Andy. We've got Keely Tennant, Director, Financial Services, Business Improvement and Fleet at Soccertech UK. And all the way from the United States, we have Rhonda Harris, HR Strategy and Training Consultant based in New York. Hi, how you doing, Rhonda? Now, to kick things off, we've got a bit of a poll. We want to interested in what you think at the moment and what all of you watching here are feeling. And so we've got a poll for you. So the question we're going to start off the poll with, poll number one, is which area would you most like to develop your skills? Okay, we've got a few options here for you. The first one is leadership. Second one is AI/technology. Thank you for that, putting it up there. Third is data analytics. The fourth one, relationship building and business partnering. Accounting is number 5, risk analysis or management is 6, project management 7, or 8, tax reporting. So just to recap that question for you, which area would you most like to develop your skills? Okay, we just want one answer from you, please. And we'll wait for some of the results to come in if people are still going. But I suppose while people are doing that, we can sort of dive in a bit and talk about the skills that you're going to need to be future-proof. And let's hear from our panel. So how is the skill set changing? Andy, first, tell me, what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you, Jay. Yes, things are changing so much in the world of finance right now. Technology, as you mentioned, is having a big part to play in that. So I think, obviously, as a business partner expert, the business partnering skills, the human skills are just becoming so important to future-proof yourself. There's a good friend of mine, Andy Codd, who said, if you behave like robots, then expect to be replaced by robots. So that whole humanness is what, I know it's not a real word, is what differentiates you from robots and technology and so on. So those business partnering skills, I think, are really, really important to be a future-proof finance professional.
Great, thanks for that. Right, and it was, you touched on it a little bit there. Finance has been traditionally seen by some as a bit of a back office function. Keely, do you think this is changing now?
Absolutely it is. I think the term back office function is rather outdated, and I think to Andy's point, this becoming transformational change within our finance departments is seen as being required to become more of a business partner and have more of a business partner approach, to have that adaptability, to work in a more agile way, and to use the new digital transformation era, as we're all getting so excited about or a little bit nervous about, and using that data as a way to story tell and support our business.
That's great to hear. And obviously the way that people are leading teams as well is changing, isn't it, Rhonda? What are your thoughts about this issue?
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about technology, it's allowing just all of us to do our jobs faster. And so it's freeing up more time. And so for teams and managers, they really have to focus on building sort of the softer skills and within, just management, like thinking and strategic planning and critical thinking, and just really focusing on, back to something that Andy said, the whole human is looking at the employee as a whole person and looking at how to maximize all of their skills.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a sort of bit of a thing that's in flow at the moment. And as you say, technology has made us all kind of look a little bit at what we're doing next. Now we've got the results in from the poll, so let's just take a second to have a look at those. Now it looks like the clear winner here is data analytics with 38%. So that's yes, that's a clear one. You've got 19% accounting and risk analysis management. AI technology, 13%. That's obviously a huge issue in terms of technology. And then leadership and tax reporting. So that's really interesting. So data analytics coming out pretty much the runaway leader in that. I'll go to the panel, I suppose. Does that surprise you guys? Andy first.
It surprises me that nobody thinks that business partnering and relationship building is a key skill to develop for the future. I think we've all alluded to that and the importance of it, that humanness being super important, and not just the humanness and the partnering skills, it's connecting with the business. So what I would say to that poll is things like data analytics, using technology, make sure it's aligned, that your communications of data analytics and technology is aligned with achieving the strategic and commercial priorities of the organization, because that is partnering, that is business partnering. It's connecting your information, your data, your numbers with what the organization is here to do and here to achieve.
Yeah. Rhonda, what are your thoughts on that poll, very briefly?
Yeah, not really surprised by it, but I think what it demonstrates too is sort of a need. I think employees look at the work and what they do in one way, and as leaders, potentially we're looking at it more visionary. And so I think that's really just the training and sort of coaching need. Like, all of those things are great, and more of the data and the technical are great, but equally important are, as Andy said, partnering, leadership, and some of those other softer skills. So I think that just creates a training need for organizations to focus more in that area, in those areas.
Yeah, and that's great. And Keely, your thoughts? I mean, I perhaps was thinking that AI skills might be a little bit higher. It was only around 6%, wasn't it? What are your thoughts on any surprises you might have found in that?
Yeah, I think the same as Andy, really. I think the business partner I was expecting to come out a little higher as AI. But I think when we look at data analytics, I think that's all fantastic stuff. But it's not enough without doing something with the data. So that need to tell a story with the data, that need to be able to communicate with our stakeholders in a business partnering type way. That is the connection, that is the connectivity that we need. And AI gives us the opportunity to use data in all of these wonderful ways, but it's actually, what do we do with that? That's what counts. How do we get creative with that? How do we problem solve with the data analytics that's provided, that comes through the AI, that comes through the business partnering? So for me, it's all about connectivity. It's connecting those dots and having that ability to be able to go out and tell the story. That's what I think is beautiful about data, is it tells a story, but you have to know how to do that.
Yeah, that's really, really well put. Now, so some of the IFOL research has identified 5 key skills that are increasingly in demand. And some of those got a bit of an error just now in that poll, but just to recap on those people who might not be aware. So number 1 is technology and AI proficiency, which you were just talking about there, Keely. Number 2 is analytical skills. Number 3 is business partnering and communication, which I think you guys all seem a bit surprised it didn't feature a bit higher. Number 4 is leadership, and number 5, adaptability and agility. So let's dive into some of those. Which of these skills is the most sought after in the real world? And Keely, let's start with you.
So for me, adaptability and agility, I think, has been a key one for us in our business. So I joined our business a few years ago where everything was paper-based, and we moved very quickly on this digital transformational journey. And to date now, we don't have any paper in our office at all. But that ability to adapt and be agile, I think has been a real challenge for our teams, because we often look at things from a technical perspective rather than that humanness. And I love that word, humanness, Andy. I think it's really important that we focus on our people, the people part of the change, not just the technical, transformational AI and all of that cool stuff. It's how we move forward with that.
Yeah. Andy, your thoughts on which of these are most real world relevant?
I can only speak from our perspective, which is, of course, business partnering, because that's what people come to us for. And our experience, we work with many thousands of finance professionals around the world, and there's a lot of people who feel they're still stuck in the doing. They're still stuck in the everyday, the month end, and all that sort of thing. And they want to be more of a business partner, and their companies, their organizations want them to be more of a business partner. So this is it's a growing area. It's a competitive advantage area. So it is increasingly seen as so important, you know, as Rhonda says about the softer skills, and it does build in, as Keely's saying as well, it does build in technology as well. We have to be able to use what's available to free up time and to have that time to spend with the business to help them make those smarter, more informed decisions, to help them improve their performance as well. So that's what we see on the ground and people come to us for.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and Rhonda, I suppose, what can people do to up their humanness in the finance sector? How can people do that?
I think it's a couple of different things, but you know, something I hate, simplistic is thinking. I hate to say just really thinking, but in a lot of areas, and especially with the organizations that I've worked with, decisions are sort of left to the head, the senior folks. And so it sort of handicaps your folks more at the ground level that are doing the work every day. It doesn't allow them the opportunity to really think. So for me, you know, analytical skills are sort of where a focus where we should be building and focusing on, so that everyone can participate in the decision-making process that makes the whole entire unit more effective and also more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose surprisingly, accounting skills didn't come up very high in the poll either. Does this surprise you guys on the panel that that's not something that people feel like they should be developing? Andy, let's speak to you first.
I would say no, and it's probably going to sound a little bit awful, but it's because that is expected, that you have those skills. It's almost a given, which is a horrible thing to say when it is so challenging to get through those exams, whether you're doing the accounts payable exams, whether you're doing accounting exams, but it is a given. So people are expected to have those skills, and then develop the other skills to support, so that they can share their brilliance of what they know with their finance skills.
Yeah, Keely, your thoughts on that? Do people is that taken as a given that the accounting skills are just there, and it's the other things people might need to work on?
Yeah, I think Andrew's right. I think the accounting skills are a given. You know, there's also the on-the-job training that comes from it. You learn by doing as well. But for me, you know, in an organization, things like problem skills, this, you know, going back to the adaptability and the agility, knowing how to use Excel, they're all fundamental parts of existing in this finance world of the future. We've spent so much time looking backwards at what the data is telling us, and what we really need to be doing is analysing the data and having that ability to problem solve, so that we can be looking at more of a future-led finance approach. So no, it doesn't surprise me at all, but I definitely think there needs to be more focus on some of the other softer things and the more creative skills within the finance for the future.
Yeah, and Rhonda, your thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, just really adding on to what Keely said, you know, and when hiring, and I think I shared this story with a few of you earlier, you know, when I help hiring managers recruit, you know, I tell them like the base skills are that's the bare minimum. You really have to probe for things like integrity, kindness, and their ability to think and how folks think and problem solve, because those are things that you're going to really value on and they're going to bring every day into that work environment. So again, softer skills, but those are things we should be probing for too when we're hiring folks.
Yeah, really good point. And I think that is what makes every individual different, I suppose, isn't it? The ability to use those skills that each of us have. Right. Okay, I'm going to turn things over to the audience again just now. We've got another poll for you. And this one is a little bit, we talked a bit about continuous learning. I think Keely mentioned that. So the poll is, for you guys watching at home, who do you believe is responsible for your skills and development? Is it one, my manager or employer? Is it myself? Or is it both? I'll just repeat that again. Who do you believe is responsible for your skills development? Is it my manager or employer? Is it me? Or is it both, a combination of those two? Let's get your votes in now, please. One option there. think might be quite interesting, but we'll wait and see what's coming. While we're waiting, let's have a little bit of a chat about this. Oh, here we go! Bang! Look at that! Wow!
Excellent.
So nobody there thinks that the managers or employers are responsible.
Yes.
Which is good. We've obviously got an audience who is taking things on themselves here. Your reaction to this to these results? Let's go with you, Andy, first.
Oh, I'm so encouraged to see people taking responsibility for their own continuous learning, their own learning and development. I think, yeah, you really have to. I agree to a certain extent that your manager can support you with that. It depends how long you've been in a role, for example, and where they think you need to develop and to get that guidance. But I think you do need to take that responsibility yourself. It's your career, which could be in multiple different organizations. So really encouraged to see that.
Keely, your thoughts on that and that result?
Well, I'm just thrilled by that response, because so often I hear stories that people feel that training is something that happens at a desk and it's something that the employer provides. And actually, even in outside of work, we're all being encouraged and having to use data, digital apps in a completely different way. So we're learning all of the time, and that's important to us. It's our responsibility to keep our knowledge base fresh, whether that's on AI, it's on digital, it's on accounting, it's on life. It's our responsibility to keep our knowledge base fresh. So I'm really pleased with that result.
Yeah,
what a great audience.
Yes, I know. Yeah, it's great. Rhonda, your thoughts on this poll?
Yeah, definitely agree. I'm so happy to see that folks are interested in taking ownership of their career and building their skills. I feel like in the States, though, those responses would be different. Like with a primary, American employees are kind of
dig into that a little bit.
They're a little entitled. And so they really do put more pressure on the managers and the organizations, which is so interesting. Like they really want everything to sort of fit into that 9 to 5, into their daily workday, and not really take a lot of onus. So I'm glad to see that is definitely a different perspective. And I think as employers and as trainers and consultants and managers, we have to just keep instilling in folks that, hey, you've got to have some skin in the game too. This is your future and your career.
Yeah, I mean, let's dig into that a little bit. Do you have any examples that you can think of where people have come out saying, with the opposite that we see into the poll?
Of me specifically, all the time.
Yeah.
I work with, primarily,
okay.
US-based companies. And they've taken the time to build internal training departments. But again, there's only so far that work can take a person, can take an employee. So it's still at some point, you're going to need to go outside of that to truly think about not just the career you have today, but where you want to go. And so you're going to have to make that investment. Like I have had conversations with employees that want to raise, but don't really want to do that self-improvement and build their skills and build their education and expertise, but they want more money. It's like, hey, this is an exchange. This doesn't work this way. You need to invest. And then guess what? Then we'll invest and continue to support you.
Yeah. I wonder how much of this might be a generational thing. Do you think perhaps people who might be older working in the finance sector might be less likely to take up training and continuous learning? Keely, what do you think?
Gosh, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. That's definitely not something that I have seen too much of, but I think it does happen. I think if I look at the organization that I'm in at the moment, I definitely had some challenges, shall we say, when I came in all shiny and bright and launched this digital transformation journey. And I definitely knew that there was a few people that thought that I'd just gone crazy because it became a fear-based approach in we are comfortable doing things this way because this is the way that we've always done it. So for me, it became a fear of change rather than a fear of the digital transformation, if that makes sense. It was more of the fear of change itself. So, and I've actually seen that across generations as well. I definitely think that there have been instances where, the older generation I think we have to be careful that we're not pushing the older generation out, because they have lots of other skills to bring as well. You know, we spoke about this is not just about the digital skills, it's about this all-rounded skill. And I think multi-generational teams for me are a gift.
Yeah, that's the blend, I suppose, isn't it?
Beautiful blend. Yeah.
And you were nodding very vigorously there. Anything to add to that?
I think I'll probably end up really overgeneralizing here, but I think yeah, what Keely has said about this, I think probably traditionally it was seen as the employer responsibility to train people on the job and to provide training. I think now, when I think of younger generations, there's so much more out there that people are used to, like YouTube and blogging, and I think people get information from lots of different sources now. They might go to LinkedIn, that might be a more trusted source for them, where they can really learn some stuff and apply it at work. So I think training, it doesn't have to be a training course. It can be on the job, as we've been talking about, but there's all these rich resources that are available. And you think, people are here from IFOL. There's a great community where you're outside of your own organization, people you can network with and peer learn with. And I think that is so valuable and so enriching. I know in my own career, my own finance career, I learned probably more when I was networking with people outside my organization, and I could take all these different ideas back. So I think, multi-generational, outside, inside of your organization, make the most of the resources available to you, and take control of your own development. It comes back to that again, whatever your preference. There are so many, podcasts are so popular as well. So everyone at any generation can have their own preference. They might prefer watching something on YouTube, they might prefer reading a blog or an article, they might prefer listening to a podcast. So it's just knowing your preferences and working with that, I think.
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit there. It can also be a bit of mindset shift, can't it, for a lot of people? Keely, you mentioned it can actually be enjoyable to learn new skills, and you might have a sense of renewed vigor going back into your work because you've got a new skill. Is that something?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's happening right. It's happening right here, which is why I'm such an advocate. I have seen it transform people. And that is remarkable to watch. I've seen people that have felt it's very easy, I think, to become stuck at work. You do the same thing every day. You get into this routine and you become stuck. And actually, that actually has a big impact on your mental health. And I think what I've observed here and what I'm going through at the moment is a fresh excitement to work, because people are getting to learn new things, and then they're going home and they're sharing some of that with their partners, and we're setting up team sites and SharePoint sites and all of it's not just about all of the other technology, it's about all of the communication tools. And I've seen it, and we're living and breathing it right now, and it's such a beautiful transformation to watch somebody go from what I would call a resistor at the beginning of their journey to now being, let me get involved. I want to get involved with that. I think that's very powerful.
Yeah, that does sound really, really powerful. And I think, like you say, it's changing that culture, isn't it? The workplace culture and the culture within an individual sometimes. Rondo, that can be quite difficult, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. Particularly thinking about younger folks, what I've seen is a lot more younger managers. And so that can be challenging when they're coming in and they're managing folks that are much older than them and that are even more experienced, but they really have done the work. They've educated themselves, they've gotten the experience and been trained, and they have those skills to really lead. And so that becomes where it's really about really working with folks as individuals, even our older folks, and not pushing them out, but drawing them in and giving them alternative ways to learn and other ways to build their own skills so that they don't sort of get pushed out. A lot of them are fearful of technology. And so they're already in this place of uneasiness. And I really think leaders, and even the younger leaders, like bring a certain energy into units and department that can help bring sort of everybody in.
Yeah, that's great. And we talked a bit about adaptability and agility in your career, and that's obviously one of the things that you guys have all been very passionate about. Andy, how do you change someone's opinion if they perhaps know they need to be adaptable, but they haven't, they don't feel like it's in them? Do you have an approach to how you might help that kind of individual make that change and embrace what's new and the future?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. I think because obviously we run training courses, we're generally working with groups, and there'll always be someone or a number of people in the group who are more on board than the others, and that kind of peer learning really supports others in the journey. And we do things like accountability buddy groups, so people get together and they can work through things together, and have that support as they go through this journey. I think that's really, really important. And I think the number one word that people say to us is that it builds their confidence.
Yeah.
So we're actually working on building skill sets, but what they actually get is confidence to use technology, confidence to be more into the data, confidence to get out into the business and communicate in a more simple and effective way. So even though it's skill building, it is that mindset shift, and it gives them the ability, that confidence to actually use those skills and be more excited about it, as the other two have been talking about.
Yeah, and that was the top issue in the poll, wasn't it? It was about data analytics and wanting to sort of train up in that. But I suppose it's how you then apply it. Keely, you touched a little bit on that about learning to use the data to your advantage. And how can people, once they've got the training in data analytics, how can they apply that to their future career and it can become a positive thing?
In every way, you know, once we've got the visibility of data, anything is possible. I think I will always go back to storytelling. It's how we tell the story. Data is a beautiful thing if we use it in the right way, but it all goes back to everything. Poor data in, bad story out. So we have to make sure that we get things right the first time. But, you know, for me, it just all starts with a conversation. Communication comes down to is at the root of everything for me. How we communicate, how we use that data, how we tell the story. But once you've got it, it's open. You can take it as far as you want to take it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that answers the question.
Yeah,
but
no, it did.
hopefully
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
just
absolutely
think storytelling and communication are key.
Yeah, totally. I was going to speak to Rhonda then. I think she's just, Rhonda, are you back? She disappeared, but now she's back. Rhonda, can you hear me? She's smiling. Can you hear me, Rhonda? Yes, right, good. What I was going to say is, do you think the difference between smaller organizations and larger organizations in being prepared for future, in being future-proof, I suppose, are the bigger organizations, have they got it sewn up, or actually can a smaller organization be more agile and be better prepared?
I definitely think smaller organizations can be better prepared. There's less red tape even to go through to make a decision, to move initiatives forward, to buy a piece of software, whatever that needs to happen can happen much faster in smaller organizations. I think, you know, larger organizations have resources, they have more money. So I think they can do a larger grand sort of push, but not, I wouldn't say that one is more effective than the other.
Yeah. Do you, Andy, do you want to come in on that? You had something to say there about terms of the size of an organization. Does that affect how future-proof they can be?
I love what Rhonda was saying. That's why I was smiling so much. It's yeah, smaller businesses can be so much more agile, can do things so much quicker, but do lack resources. You know, money can be a real issue. And I think I was just thinking, when we're talking about the larger organizations that do have resources, it's been really, really clear on what the outcome is that they want. It's all great to, yes, we need these skills, but for what purpose? How will it help us achieve those strategic and commercial priorities that I always talk about? It really is aligning with business objectives and goals to use those skills. So I think just that absolute clarity on what needs to be achieved just sprung into mind when Rhonda was talking there.
Yeah.
Keely, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, just something that Andy said there and Rhonda were talking about. The discovery session and being really clear on what you need is so important, and we've followed throughout an agile approach here, and that is I need so that. So on everything that we're looking at when we're looking as part of change, we're very clear on I need so that as you're moving through this discovery, you're ensuring that you meet the initial requirements. We've all heard of scope creep in transformational journeys and things like that. And I would agree that larger companies, I've worked for both, larger companies more money to invest, more capital investment, which we're seeing, but really slow churn. And smaller companies, less capital investment, but much more agile.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things that a lot of people know perhaps that they need to be future proof and need to be adaptable, but actually the day-to-day churn of the job, it might make that really difficult. People have got a lot to do, people are busy. How important is it to prioritize this stuff? Let's go to Andy first.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? Yeah, I think, I don't think there's an option. I think the question to ask yourself, if you're thinking, I can't make this a priority, is what happens if you don't do anything at all? You'll still just stay on the hamster wheel doing the doing. And there's just so much more opportunity out there for you. There's so much more fulfillment out there for people as well. I think there can be so many different techniques for this, whether it's siphoning off some time, doing it with other people. I really do think these accountability buddy groups can really help. It's like, right, on a Friday afternoon or whatever day you choose, this is when we do our development. This is when we get together and we grow, or we do a course, or we, listen to a podcast or whatever. Because if you have other people involved, you're likely to do it. You're more likely to do it. Lots of people put these things in their calendar and then, of course, don't do it. So it's making it a priority, it's making it time, and just think of the consequences if you don't. I think that's the thing to think about.
Yeah, Rhonda, is that something that you would also go along with, that you need to prioritize this stuff? And I suppose how do people do that?
Absolutely. And I think Andy had a great idea by pairing up and doing groups. It just, again, makes, and that transfer of information and knowledge, everyone's experience is different. They're bringing different information to the knowledge that they're learning to help everyone grow. And sometimes you have that resistance of mindset at the leadership level. So if you've got a group of staff who are bringing forth an information and an idea, when it's more than just one person, it's probably a little more likely to be listened to and at least, considered.
Yeah. And Keely, anything to add to that? The prioritize or die?
It's funny. I think everyone would have seen the famous cartoon that says, "Are we too busy to improve?" As someone's trying to push some rocks up a hill on a square wheel, and someone's just coming behind with this circular wheel, and this is like, and I think that's true. Are we too busy to improve? But creating the accountability groups, running regular voice of customer. So I do that a lot with my teams, a lot of voice of customer, actually what's going on, and asking the question, lots of start, stop and continues. Going back to that communication is we're continuous improvement and progression, and prioritization is continuous improvement. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
The minute that you never complete something, and I think that's the thing that everyone has to get into their heads, nothing's ever finished. Certainly not in finance anyway. As soon as you improve something, you're looking at ways in which you can continually improve. Otherwise, we go back to being stuck.
Sure.
So that's
we're running close to the end now, but before we end, I'd just like to get everyone a chance to give one piece of takeaway advice to the audience, one sort of kernel of knowledge, if you like. So, Andy, what's the one thing that people should take away from this?
I'm going to say something completely different. I'm going to say to remind everyone to enjoy the journey. I think that is so important. I have it right here next to me to remind myself to do the same thing as well, because as I say, everyone's busy, everyone's feeling a bit battered sometimes. Be kind to yourself, but remember why you're doing this and why you love it and why you chose this career. And remember to enjoy the journey, enjoy the challenges, enjoy the learning, enjoy the pitfalls, when it goes wrong, enjoy picking up with other people. Just remember every day, work on enjoying the journey as well.
Enjoy the journey. That's great advice. Rhonda, your one piece of takeaway advice, have you got one?
Sure. To stay flexible. If a project comes up, jump on it. If a committee, jump on it. There's so much learning just in experiences that you wouldn't ordinarily think, and then maybe outside of finance even. But just, again, grab onto those experiences, learn from others, share with others, and you're going to meet and develop relationships and knowledge exchange from people that you probably wouldn't ordinarily work with. So stay flexible and stay open.
Great. And very quickly, Keely, your one piece of advice.
Stay thirsty. Stay thirsty for more knowledge, and have fun. Let's not take everything so seriously. We can in finance have fun, so let's have fun.
I think we're going to leave it there. Thank you all so much for joining us. Andy Lonan from FBB Academy, Keely Tennant from Soccer Tech UK, and Rhonda Harris. Thank you all for joining us. And you can find information about what we've discussed today on the IFOL website, along with information on IFOL membership. And this webinar is also going to be available on the website too, hopefully from tomorrow. So please do share it. I'm Jay Videringham, and thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.